for the final battle here at the grand finale at the Hockenheimring. Only 2 more races to go in the DTM season 2022. We are here at the Hockenheimring, and the leader of the championship is Sheldon van der Linder, but there's still 5 rivals altogether who could snatch a title, and mathematically speaking, actually 9. One of the guys is Mirko Bortolotti. You're 5th in the championship, 15 points behind Sheldon, and you're starting in P3, way ahead of him. So in other words, I mean, from this point, anything is possible. And what do you expect for this race? You're going to fight hard, that's for sure.
Yeah, I expect a strong race. I hope that's ideally what we need today. We had a good quali. We start from P3 behind the Mercedes. They looked really strong this morning, but they are both in a title fight as well, because don't forget about Luca. He is not far away, so it's all wide open, to be honest, and it's really exciting, and it's really cool to be in that position.
Absolutely, but in regards to your nerves, I mean, it's all about the championship. You seem so calm, are you?
I'm really enjoying it. So I really enjoy this moment, and I will enjoy today and tomorrow, no matter what happens. Because it's a pleasure to be here and to compete for the championship.
All right, Mirko, best of luck. You go for it. Thank you so much. And now here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Yeah, isn't that a great attitude? Enjoy it. That's what we're all supposed to be here to do. But there is no doubt about it, huge pressure. Now, a twist in the tail already, because news has come through that there have been 10-place grid penalties for 3 drivers, and 2 of them are championship contenders. Dennis Olsen is the first, Sheldon van der Linder is the second, and Thomas Preining is the third, getting 10-place grid penalties. It's from no fault of their own as drivers, but the teams, before qualifying, you're not allowed to have tyres on the car from between 1 hour and 5 minutes before qualifying, and all 3 teams on those cars did. Koos Team Bernhard have pleaded for a fine instead of a 10-place grid penalty. They said, look, we were practicing our pit stops, we're only 2 minutes late, but it's not been allowed. And so for the second time in succession, Sheldon van der Linder qualifies in the top 6, the championship leader, but starts way down the order with this time a 10-place grid penalty. Drama already then here at Hockenheim. Let's go back down to Verena on the grid.
And I'm here with the man who's starting in pole position, Luki Auer. And Luki, you're second in the championship. It is so incredibly tight. So what are you going to do to collect as many points as possible and hopefully even win this so important race?
Push very hard and win it, as you said. This will be the best, but we have to see it. You know, in a race everything can happen, so let's see it.
But I mean, this championship is just so extremely tight. And I mean, there are 5 rivals altogether, but 9 mathematically could still snatch a title. So at this point, it's the final. How do you feel?
Obviously a bit nervous. I think for everybody the pressure is on, but it's a nice feeling to have, and I'm ready for whatever comes.
All right, well, best of luck, Luki. Thank you so much. Here's your commentator.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, Lucas Auer, who scored his 12th career pole position in the DTM earlier on today. What a time to do it. He was on front row of the grid both times here last year as well. So the Winward Mercedes, clearly both suited to the Hockenheim circuit. He's a winner here as well. So he qualifies on pole. He gets 3 championship points for that as well, which means having started the day 11 points behind Sheldon van der Linder, he is now only 8 points behind, and there are still 55 championship points available over these 2 races today and tomorrow, and the qualifying session tomorrow morning. There is very happy Maro Engel. He got his first pole position last time out at the Red Bull Ring in wet conditions. He was briefly on pole position here in qualifying earlier on today, midway through the session, but he ends up 5th on the grid. So Lucas Auer, Lukas Stolz, who is 6th in the championship, still has a chance of the title. Mirko Bortolotti with the 3 that scored points. Mirko getting a championship point for 3rd, which moves into within 15 points now of the points leader. And just behind him there is the double champion of 2014 and 2016, Marco Whitman, who won the title. He was the last driver to help BMW win a BMW team win a team's championship title with the RMR squad, which Schubert Motorsport are hoping to do for the first time since 2016. If they've got a 43-point lead over Abt Sportsline in the team's championship, can win the team's title, they'll be the first team to take a team's championship with a BMW since then. Mirko Bortolotti then looking for his first win of the season, and for Lamborghini's first win in DTM. Third from him on the grid. Let's hear now from some of his rivals back on the grid with Verena.
I'm here with Sheldon van der Linde. Sheldon, you're leading the championship. It's going to be a tough one, starting from P16. So what can you do to give it your best?
Yeah, you said it. It's going to be a really tough one. I think from 16th, it's obviously very hard to work your way to the front. So I'm going to have to take a bit more risk on the first lap. But yeah, we know the car's pace. The qualifying was actually pretty good, which is a bit more disappointing with this penalty, but going to do everything.
All right, thank you so much. Best of luck, Sheldon. And obviously the penalty, I'm sure we'll hear more from the commentator about it, but obviously it's going to be a tough one for Sheldon, but we're really looking forward to this exciting race. So here's your commentator.
Thanks very much, Verena. Chris Hartley, trackside then, to build you up to the start of the penultimate race of the season. And yeah, those 10-place grid penalties for two of the championship contenders. Sheldon van der Linde, which puts him from 6th down to 16th. Thomas Preining, which puts him from 8th down to 18th place. It also, just to annoy them even more, puts Renee Rast, another of their championship rivals, up a couple of places. They qualified 9th, but Renee is going to start ahead of both of them now in 7th place. Bortolotti, who's 5th in the championship, starts 3rd. And Lucas Auer, who is 2nd in the championship, starting from pole position. So the points as it stands after qualifying this morning: Sheldon van der Linde, 130 points. Lucas Auer catching fast, 8 adrift now on 122 points. Remember, 25 points for a race win, plus a point for fastest lap if you get that and finish the race. And then we got Renee Rast on 118 points, 3rd in the championship, 12 behind Sheldon van der Linde. Thomas Preining, 4th in the championship on 116, 14 points behind, and 1 point behind him, Mirko Bortolotti, on 115 points now after qualifying in 3rd. He's 15 adrift. Schubert Motorsport lead the team's championship from Abt Sportsline in their first season of the championship by 43 points. And there's only 1 point between Mercedes and Audi for the Manufacturers' Championship. Mercedes moving ahead in the second race. That, just to reiterate, the penalties for Sheldon van der Linde, for Dennis Olsen and for Thomas Preining were all from a rule infringement before qualifying, where you're not allowed to have tyres on the car from between 1 hour before qualifying and 5 minutes before qualifying, and the teams missed the slot by a couple of minutes and have all been given, those drivers, that 10-place grid penalty. So last time at the Red Bull Ring, Sheldon van der Linde qualified on Sunday in 6th place, but started 15th on the grid because he had a 9-place grid penalty for track limits infringements from the previous day's race. And this time it's a very similar penalty, 10 places instead of 9, but it's through no fault of the driver, but an infringement through the team. So becomes an uphill battle now, and as Sheldon said, he's going to have to take risks. He is still the championship leader. We did have all of the top 5 in the championship up there. Still other drivers can win this as well. Let's not rule out Lukas Stolz, who's been flying here. He's 6th in the championship on 102, 28 behind. Lucas Auer is going to lead them round the formation lap. Just to remind you, it's 55 minutes plus 1 lap, the race distance. There's a mandatory pit stop for everybody, in which you have to change tyres, no refuelling. The pit window, when you can make those mandatory stops, is between 10 and 40 minutes in the race. So between the end of the 10th minute and the end of the 40th minute is when you've got to make your mandatory pit stop. All the drivers on Michelin slick tyres. It's a medium compound tyre. And we'll see what the strategy is going to be, whether you come in early in the pit window or push it a little bit later on. Lucas Auer, Lucas Stolz, the front row, Mirko Bortolotti, and Stolz now coming under fire on this. Hockenheimring in a spin in the background after contact into the barriers, and around goes the Indian driver. Huge damage to the back of the car. That doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Damage to the barrier. Could be a safety car. You got Lucas Stolz and Kelvin van der Linde side by side for 3rd place, and then Maro Engel tries to come around the outside. He makes contact with the Audi of Kelvin van der Linde, skids out wide, loses a load of places. More places gained for van der Linde. Somebody's missing tyre, because tyre work is going everywhere. Somebody's shredded a tyre here in that battle on the way through the hairpin. And this is a dramatic start to the race, but it's being led by Auer, and indeed the safety car is going to be deployed because of Hockenheimring's stricken Mercedes. And they're limping along. It is a front right missing in the background. You saw from Kelvin van der Linde's Audi. And a right rear. The right rear's gone by the looks of it, right in the background. So it was his tyre. Drama already. And Lucas Auer, Marco Whitman, who had a mega start, and Renee Rast, who also had a good start, worked his way through the carnage at the hairpin, are the top 3. Lucas Stolz has dropped down to 4th. Mirko Bortolotti has dropped down to 5th. Philip Eng is 6th. Nico Muller 7th, and Sheldon van der Linder has worked out nicely for him. He qualified 6th, he had to start the race 16th with the grid penalty. End of lap 1, he's 8th. So he's made up almost all of the places the grid penalty cost him. And do you know what? He might have actually been better off where he was, because if he had been around 6th place, that's where all the drama was, involving his brother and Maro Engel, who then tried to come around the outside of him in the pink 88 Mercedes, who's got damage to the front right corner and the bonnet of the car, look. He's rejoined, but back in 13th place. Hockenheimring, hopefully he's okay, because that was a pretty big hit into the barriers. Kelvin van der Linde comes into the pits then. Hopefully it's just a case of getting a new tyre on and the rest of the car is okay, but Kelvin right at the back of the field, and that's great to see. Hockenheimring is okay, walking away from the car. That's the most important thing. Cars can be replaced, but making sure the driver is okay, and he is. So that's thanks to the strength of these cars, the safety of the design of these cars, and all the rules that are put in place, and of the circuit as well. So we get a replay of the start. Kelvin van der Linde made a good start. Hockenheimring made a really good start as well, which is why he was up there. There's Sheldon van der Linde making up time. He got Thomas Preining just at the inside of him. He whipped around the outside of Rolf in Eischen. Preining followed him, and he made up a few places by the time he got on the exit to turn 1. Get a replay of the forward-facing angle. Look at Stoltz, really good start. Bortolotti was third to start with, clattered the curb, and then Whitman ran on the outside of him. Cassidy was delayed at the start of the race as well through turn 1. And there you can see Kelvin van der Linde carrying the speed around the outside. More than one driver running beyond track limits, but that's something that's been happening all the time. And there, from Tommy Preining's point of view, was that spin from Hockenheimring, who had contact by the looks of it with Maro Engel. Looked like the two Mercedes came together on the run through Parabolica, and it was right in front of the championship leader Sheldon van der Linde, and just behind the pair of them was Thomas Preining. Hit the brakes, tuck out one of the Scheffler advertising hoardings. It's not that much runoff there. It's an unusual place to come off. And Argent into the barriers heavily. And then there was the contact as Maro Engel tried to come around the outside of Kelvin van der Linde, that sent the Mercedes wide, but also ultimately reduced that Audi to just 3 tyres. And there, the rubber shredding everywhere on the exit to the hairpin. So they're out wide goes Kelvin van der Linde, and then Lucas Stoltz made contact with him on the way out of the corner, but it's Maro Engel on the left-hand side coming past him and scraping past him on one side. Van der Linde then got the power down, but he was side by side with Lucas Stoltz, and it was Lucas Stoltz's Mercedes that actually made contact on the other side, and then, by the looks of it, that was what ripped off the right rear. It was all triggered as they went 3 abreast into the hairpin. And there you can see Kelvin's tyre absolutely flailing everywhere and actually hitting his brother's BMW from the onboard camera there. There you see it. Whew, it's a big hit, actually. That could have damaged the windscreen pretty easily. Well, Kelvin van der Linde in a dramatic start to the race, which had already seen lots of drama before we even got going with those grid penalties, and then tight into turn 1, and then we had Hockenheimring having that contact on the way out of Parabolica, and then at turn 6, the drama coming out of the hairpin involving Kelvin van der Linde and Lucas Stoltz. Kelvin dropping all the way down the field and limping back to the pit lane. Have sports line ready for him, having seen the pictures and having had the team radio from Kelvin that he was minus one of his Michelin tyres. So all works out well for Sheldon van der Linde. He's in 8th place. Thomas Preining has also gained lots of ground to go from 18th up to 10th position. And great to see Hockenheimring okay, equaling his best result of the season last time out with a great drive to 4th place at the Red Bull Ring. Podium finisher in the final weekend of the season at the Norris Ring. And there carrying the damage is Maro Engel, who got onto the podium in that drying race at Red Bull Ring on the Sunday a couple of weeks ago to get that podium finish, back in 13th place. Slightly second-hand looking Mercedes, but one which still seems to be working for now. And they can see Kelvin van der Linde has been able to get the car, well, not the car fixed, but the tyre replaced, because the car's okay. That flailing bodywork might have actually hit and damaged the body, but hopefully it's going to be okay. And he's still on the lead lap because the safety car stays out. We can get up to 2 laps added on to the race distance if they are lost to a safety car. So this is going to now become a 55-minute plus 3 lap race. So 55-minute plus 3 laps it will be. Lucas Auer has now got a bit of a cushion between himself and his nearest championship rival in the race, which is Renee Rast. The second and third in the points in between them is Marco Whitman. So he's just got a double champion behind him and a triple champion behind that. No pressure, Lucas. Lucas Stoltz, having dropped to 4th place, is just ahead of Mirko Bortolotti, another of the championship contenders. And then you've got van der Linder in 8th, Preining in 10th place. So they're all up there in the top 10. But it is, of course, very early days. Just to reiterate as well that Calvin van der Linder will have to come in again. That cannot count as a mandatory pit stop. You can count your mandatory pit stop behind the safety car, but the pit window hadn't opened between the end of the 10th minute and the end of the 40th minute in the race. That half-hour period is where you've got to make your mandatory stop. So Calvin will have to come in again, but at least they've got him back out there. That at least is still on the lead lap. So on board with Sheldon van der Linder, 5th in the championship a couple of years ago. A year to forget, really. Loads of bad luck for him in 2021. But he added to that maiden victory that he picked up at Aston a few years ago with 3 wins already this season and another podium finish at Spa. And he must have been thinking, what have I got to do here to get this championship title, because it all seems to have been going wrong for him lately. A really tricky weekend at Spa, not helped by the weather and qualifying. But he managed to get a podium finish out of that, and he actually managed to stretch his championship lead slightly, despite only getting points in one of the races. But it was a 2nd place finish. And then Red Bull Ring, 0 points for him, despite coming close. 2 11th place finishes. Going to have another lap behind the safety car. And no news yet as to when the safety car is coming in, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be fairly soon. And we're getting towards the pit window opening as well. So we've had 9 minutes of racing. At the end of the 10th minute is the pit window is going to open. So when they get back around here, depending on how quick the lap is behind the safety car, and that lap just took 2 minutes and 20 seconds, there's a chance that the pit window could be open. And if the safety car is not coming in at the end of this lap, they might all bail for the pits. If it is coming in on this lap, we'll wait and see. To remind you of another rule in DTM this year, one of which has changed this year, is that a team can't double stack their drivers. So if you've got 2 drivers in the team, they can't come in to make their stop together, one waiting behind the other. And if you're a Schubert Motorsport, you're going to give favourable pit stop to your championship contender, Sheldon van der Linder. There's a replay of the tyre replacement for Calvin van der Linder by the Abt Sportsline team. Check with the other tyres as well, but they seemed happy enough that the car was okay. Could see one of Calvin's proper charges now from the back of the field. He's had a few of those over the last couple of seasons in DTM, so he'll just be going for it now. We know he's very quick around this circuit as a race winner in last season, his first season of the championship. Somebody else that's won races here at Hockenheim, not in DTM, but in GT racing, has been Mirko Bortolotti. He's had 2 race wins here, double race victory alongside Rolf in Eichen when he was racing a couple of years ago in the ADAC GT Masters Championship. The Grasser Racing team have had 4 victories here, so they like the circuit. The Lamborghini looks set up well. Mirko came very close. I'm not sure he would have got pole, but very close to getting on the front row of the grid. But he just put a wheel through the gravel trap coming out of the last turn as he went absolutely full commitment. Live championship standings then. Very early to be talking about that in the race, but if it stayed like this, it would be Lucas Auer in the lead of the championship. The race to go by 13 points, but we'll worry more about that as the race wears on, as we get into the latter stages, because we haven't really had much racing yet with that safety car coming out at the end of the first lap of the race. It's going to be another lap behind the safety car, at least, because the safety car lights are still on. And the 10th minute of the race now complete. So pit stop window is now effectively open. Nobody comes in. Will they come in at the end of the next lap, or will we go racing again? So the crowd watches on. Arjun Maini will be heading safely back to the pits as the one retirement Calvin van der Linder, last of the runners, back in 26th position. Sheldon van der Linder. Quick chat with him yesterday evening, and he seemed relaxed, he seemed in good spirits, seemed positive, and he's got to stay positive. And the safety car is coming in on this lap, so safety car in on this lap. We're about to go racing again at full speed. Will they all get to the start-finish line, though, or some of them going to head into the pit lane and put their mandatory stop in? If you do that, of course, you're going to fall to the back of the field because they're all going to sprint away pretty shortly. So this challenging, fast 4.574 kilometre long circuit at Hockenheim. 99 DTM races we've had here. It's got that hugely quick section through the Parabolica early on in the lap where they reach in the region of 265 kilometres an hour before braking and dropping from 6th to first gear and hitting the brakes for that first gear hairpin at the Spitzkehrer. And you've also got some other big braking areas into the stadium section as well. 2 quick right-handers early on in the lap, starting with the Nordkurve and then turn 2. And twists and turns. This stadium section is excellent to watch. Watching from the grandstands here yesterday, some of the support qualifying action, and the cars really move around here. They're slightly cambered left-hander through the Sachskurve where they're going now. So safety car coming in on this lap. It becomes a 55-minute plus 3 lap race. And it's going to be the 2x2 starting formation, rolling restart. But the restart is not governed by the safety car coming in and the pole sitter. It's governed by the lights, so they have to wait for the lights to change. Eyes fixed then on the gantry for Lucas Auer. Marco Whitman alongside, one with a championship in mind, one with just a race win in mind. And here we go again, racing at full speed. Away they go on the way into turn 1. Marco Whitman challenging for the lead of the race, tries to carry the speed around the outside. Renee Rast behind in third, contact further back there. Philippe getting involved with one of the Lamborghinis, which might be Clement Schmidt. We've got another Lamborghini, which is Rolf Eichen into the barriers. And also, potentially, another safety car here. More and more cars damaged, but Marco Whitman, while all that was going on, carried the speed around the outside. He took Renee Rast with him, and Lucas Auer has dropped down to third place. Bortolotti is fourth, Scholz is fifth, and van der Linder's made up 2 more. He's sixth, look. The BMW is coming. Also coming is the Lamborghini. Also coming is the Mercedes of Auer, trying to go around the outside here. Rast is trying to get out the inside of Marco Whitman. Marco Whitman is just about hanging on to the lead of the race, but Lucas Auer is now coming fully alongside Renee Rast, the driver, second and third of the championship. And Auer gets the place back. He goes second. Rast is third, but he's got Bortolotti barrelling up the inside of him now. On the brakes on the way to turn 8. He goes through the huge shunt behind. Massive shunt there. And fireball as well. We've got 3, 4, 5 cars off. Schumacher, I can see. Feller in there. Massive crash in the middle of the pack there. Surely the safety car is going to be deployed. Yes, it is. And massive drama here. Marco Whitman leads. Lucas Auer second. Oh, Thomas Preining is one of them. His car is destroyed. His championship hangs now by a fine thread. And it had started so well for him on this restart after that 10-place grid penalty, and it's going to be a red flag. The race is going to come to a stop, and the cars all bail for the pit lane because there's too much damage, too much debris on the circuit. It's got to be a red flag. Well, I hope the drivers are all okay, because that was a big one. And as ever, the professional crew that look after the drivers in terms of the marshals and the medical team and the recovery team and the race control operatives will be absolutely on top of this to make sure everybody's okay. So 2 big incidents in that, separated by around about 20 seconds in the race. There's that first one which involved 3 or 4 cars in the first few corners of the restart, and then a massive one. Unbelievable sights as DTM cars obliterated as they ran into each other. And there wasn't a great deal left of Thomas Preining's Porsche, but it was fantastic to see that he was able to walk away and out of the car. So a drama-packed, incident-packed restart. Might be one of those races where it's just about getting through it and surviving. And look at that. It's the DTM engine that has become completely separate from the car. I would hazard a guess that might well be the Porsche engine of Tommy Preining's car. Looking at the state we saw that in. Fluid leaks from it. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. Absolutely enormous impact that must have been. Ricardo Feller, we saw, was involved in that as well. He's got the car back to the pit. Everybody's in the pit lane that's still involved in this race, except for Maxi Gutz and Dev Gore. They've parked up on the start-finish line and hobbling slightly there. That's Dennis Olsen, who, remember, had to start right at the back of the grid. So he is, I mean, he looks like he's winded and hobbling, but the great news that he's got out of the car of his own volition, so it looks like he's largely okay as well, which is a huge relief. Damage to Michael Grenier's car as well, was involved in one of those incidents. But again, driver okay, back in the garage, but it looks like that might be his race now run. So some cars, including Lucas Stoltz, Lucas Auer and Maxi Buch, have parked up in the pit lane exit. Others have pulled in front of their garages, like Renee Rast and Kelvin van der Linde. We saw David Schumacher's Mercedes involved in that shunt as well. And he's missing some pretty useful components there as well at the front of the car. And there, Thomas Preining's Porsche. That's absolutely massive. I've ever seen an engine departed from the bodywork of the car like that before, and there's all sorts of other pieces of bodywork strewn everywhere as well. Marco Wittmann also stayed out, so you can see him just cruising through, trying desperately not to pick up a puncture with all of this as well. So Dennis Olsen's Porsche looks like it's either missing a front left tyre or maybe even a front left wheel, and there's a lot of recovery work to be done here by the marshalling team. They're going to have to, once they've got the debris up, which will take a while, they're also going to have to sweep up the circuit because there's a lot of fluid that's been laid down from those engine components, which have been absolutely obliterated. So thanks as ever to the marshalling team there, looking after the safety of the drivers and reacting really, really quickly to that. So it's been good to see Thomas Preining and also Dennis Olsen walking away from that. Everybody else back here, and there'll be a delay there, and that's great news as well. That's David Schumacher, who also looks okay, but he's definitely been winded, and he just takes a breath there, tries to discuss with Tommy Preining what happened there. Let's try and unpick the pieces then. This then the restart. All eyes are on Marco Wittmann, look, going around the outside of Lucas Auer, and there David Schumacher already had one save, look, and he was involved in a fight there around the outside of Nico Muller, and then as he tried to straighten it up, found Rolf Eishen's Lamborghini alongside him. Schumacher did carry on though, and I think we'll get probably a better look at it from this angle. Just look at the midfield. Maxi Buch got delayed. Sheldon van der Linde was right behind the incident again and just carried the speed around the outside. Philip Eng got caught up in all of that as well, and then it was Marius Zug in the Attempto Audi with its new American football livery for the weekend that was also involved in that. That was Eng's car in the background being battered left, right and centre, and there from that angle you can see smoke and dust everywhere, bits of bodywork flying off. Here's Marco Wittmann going in the foreground around the outside, Sheldon van der Linde around the outside to avoid the carnage. Damage to the front left of Rolf Eischen, and got then a second hit from Marius Sugg, who was just trying to avoid him really, and then Michael Grenier hit the back of him as well, so got two hits there, and they were just trying to avoid each other, but it was little time, little room to react to all of that. Schumacher actually got through all of that and ended up behind Sheldon van der Linde in the number 27 Mercedes, so he got himself up to 7th place. It's Eng that got completely sideways just behind, and there, that was the second impact. Marius Sugg was just trying to avoid the Lamborghini, but he just couldn't find a way through, and that's where the massive hit happened. Well, that was not the end of it, because we had then this huge drama later on in the lap, and while that was going on, Lucas Auer trying to stay on the track, Marco Wittmann failing to do so, but going around the outside of him. There's another replay from a different angle. There you can see the front left is broken or off in Eichen's car. He's no control over that car. Marius Sugg spears into him, trying to avoid him on the grass, and then Michael Grenier's Mercedes whacks into the back of the already broken Lamborghini. And then look, there is the big incident. It was between Schumacher and Preining. cars at a huge high speed there, destroyed. The fireball actually came from the Porsche of Dennis Olsen. That's it. Secondary to that was trying to avoid the incident, hit the inside of the barrier coming through into turns 8. And Ricardo Feller into Olsen. So actually, there was two separate incidents there. All happened at exactly the same time, but Ricardo Feller clipped the back of Dennis Olsen as just in front of him, this massive shunt between Preining and Schumacher. And then Maxi Boot got tangled up in that as well, Nick Cassidy as well, but bits of Porsche absolutely everywhere. And again, credit to the design and the strength of these cars and the safety of these cars that the drivers have been able to get out of that, because that was an horrendous looking crash. Or crash is. And then the fireball as the engine and the fuel tank took the impact on Dennis Olsen's Porsche. Michael Grenier and Maro Engel watching the replays of that. Here's a replay. Oh, Nick Cassidy there took a hit from Dennis Olsen as he hit the barriers and then came back into the Ferrari.
Like I think.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
One engine hit me in the door. One engine hit me in the door.
Yeah, one engine on the floor.
Are you okay? Sorry, my hand is fucked.
Oh, apologies for the language there, but you can understand it given the severity of that incident. So Schumacher trying to come around Preining then from his point of view there into the concrete wall, and then got a second hit as the car speared onto the circuit from Ricardo Feller, who'd already been involved in the incident with Olsen just behind as well. Two didn't fit into one. And you see Preining there took his hands off the wheel to avoid, when the wheel spins around like that, when it hits the wall or a barrier, it just spins around and around and around. That's when you can break your thumbs. So the drivers are trained to release the steering wheel straight away as soon as they know they're heading for the wall. And he was a passenger from there on in. Absolutely huge shunt that. Or shunts. And there, the fireball coming from Dennis Olsen's car. And Dennis Olsen's engine, as it ends up completely separate from the car on the track. So it wasn't Preining's engine, but it was a Porsche engine, and that's good to see. The drivers just giving each other a hug and saying, oh, we've done well to get out of that, because that was a massive one. Preining, you remember from Spa when he had that contact with Lucas Auer going up Eau Rouge, took a deep breath after that. It was like, that was nearly a really big one. I'm pleased to get out of that. I'll live with me for a while, but that one, well, that was even worse. It's great news that the drivers are all okay. Well, it's something that in 20 plus years of commentary, I've never seen an engine completely separated from the car before and on the circuit like that. That is unbelievable. And there's a lot of clearing up work to be done there. And a huge gratitude once again to the marshals for all of their work. Like, they're already sweeping up the debris, already dealing with the fluid and the oil and the water from the radiators that's been left on the circuit. Oh dear, but we have to say is there any chance that any of these cars, particularly Preining and Olsen, are even going to have a chance of being out tomorrow? And well, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but looking at it, I would be really surprised. And what a hugely shocking and disappointing way to end the championship charge for Thomas Preining, who's been absolutely brilliant this year, as has the team. Well, the driver's out of the car, or cars, which, as you'd expect, they've got the signal that we are going to have quite a delay. So we'll get news of that and we'll pass it on to you when we can. But for now, let's go down to the pit lane and try and pick up the pieces with Verena.
And I'm here with Timo Bernhard, the team principal of KUS Team Bernhard. We just saw you. I mean, obviously you're outraged about this incident. So try to find some words for it. How do you judge the incident?
Well, I mean, yeah, we had a pretty good start and a pretty good restart. We gained a couple of positions, I think already P8 or P9. They had an unfortunate get-together with David Schumacher, which was causing both cars to spin and hit heavily, which I don't know. I need to watch it again closely, the incident. I just watch it live on on TV. So for sure I'm a bit emotional because we have a very damaged car and we're basically out of the contention for a title. And I just don't know why. I love racing. I love tough racing. I love like when they fight for millimeters, you know, like Red Bull. But I don't like crash festivals and crash derbies. Also don't know why we don't do the single file restart, because the double file always has a big potential for things go wrong in the first corner. So yeah, just a bit sad and a bit also mad for sure, because I like to see tough racing close. We want to compete against the best, fair and square, but I don't want to see crash derbies.
We saw Thomas Preining getting out of the car, and I think he's in the medical center now. Have you heard anything? How is he doing?
Well, what we know, I mean, we saw him as well standing, and we saw that I think for sure he has a bit of bruises and he feels a bit sore. But it looks like that everything he's well and he's one shape and like all the others. So in the end, like, you know, I'm a driver. I feel for the drivers, and I just want to, you know, I hope that everybody is safe, and that's the top priority. And the next one is that we have a nice racing and a nice racing platform, and that's yeah.
And in regards to the car, we saw the car absolutely destroyed, bits flying apart. Is there any chance, do you think, that by tomorrow you will have a fixed car and hopefully also a driver who's okay?
Well, the chance is quite low. From just watching from afar, it looks like pretty severe damage on the front, pretty severe damage on the rear. So this is for sure pretty much a chassis which you cannot do overnight, and actually there's non-existing, so at the moment, so yeah, it's pretty much game over. Yeah, it hurts. There's so much effort putting in this car and in this program. Very proud of everybody and of the whole team that we were in the title contention to the last race. And yeah, that's what it is. We have to digest it, and yeah, it's tough, very tough.
I bet it is. Thank you very much, Timo Bernhard. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Well, huge respect to Timo Bernhard for that interview, because you can just imagine how low you must be feeling after that. All the emotions, sad, angry, worried, annoyed, gutted, because they were in that fight for the Drivers' Championship title, and it was Tommy Preining that had really been the one rocketing up the order. As we look at Peter Muka there, who's... Well, I've seen a lot in his time, but I'm not sure we'll have ever seen anything like that in all of his years of racing, the Muka Motorsport team boss. We saw Maxi Boot kind of in on the fringes of a couple of those incidents, so he's taken a bit of damage to the car as well, but hopefully we'll be able to rejoin. But good to hear, albeit in horrible circumstances, from Timo Bernhard there, the double Le Mans winner and two-time World Endurance champion and team boss of the Koos Team Bernhard squad on their first season of DTM. He's right, they should be very proud of everything they've achieved so far, but it looks like it has unfortunately come to a brutal end, their championship. Very low chance that car is going to be back out. I would say an even lower chance that we're going to see Dennis Olsen's car back out. But you never know, these teams do often perform unbelievable miracles. If there's any chance, you can guarantee they'll be working through the night to get these cars repaired and back out tomorrow. But it would be massively surprising, I think, if we saw either of those cars back in action. But the cars can be fixed eventually. Drivers are the main thing, and they are okay. So that is one of the championship contenders effectively out of the running, Thomas Preining. But what entertainment he has delivered. Thinking back to that battle he had in race 1 at the Red Bull Ring with Nico Muller, that was phenomenal. And a win in Austria, the first win for Porsche in the DTM as well. A lot to be proud of for Tommy this season. So now we're looking at Marco Bortolotti starting the race 5th in the championship, 15 points behind Sheldon van der Linde. It must be preying on the mind. It's funny how things work out, isn't it? If Koos Team Bernhard and Timo Bernhard and Tommy Preining, they must be thinking, well, we shouldn't really have been there. What if we hadn't had that 10-place grid penalty? We wouldn't have been where we were in that race on the restart. So you look at that from one point of view, but you also look at it then from Sheldon van der Linde's point of view. In a way, it might have helped him out being further down the grid, because he's avoided a lot of this carnage to come through back to where he started, or would have started originally, in the top 6. So on board with Mirko Bortolotti. Had a pretty good restart, watching it all go on with Whitman ahead of Rast. As we look at those replay pictures from the onboard, we can get some more news now and interviews down with Verena in the pit lane.
And I'm now here with Renee Rast, who was starting in P7, and then you were catching up pretty well. You were all the way to P3, and then this whole chaos happened. So, I mean, what do you think of the situation?
Yeah, it's nothing we want to see, obviously. It was a huge crash, especially Thomas, David and also Olsson. So I hope they are all fine. Wish them all the best, speedy recovery. But obviously it was a hard hit for all of them. So I hope they are well and don't have too much pain.
Now, in regards to the championship, I mean, you're fighting for the title and you're now in P3. So hopefully, what do you think? Have you heard anything in regards to restart of the race?
I haven't heard anything so far. I think the most important is to get the situation under control, to see, is somebody injured or not, can we restart or not, and then the second thing is to obviously clean up the track, get rid of the mess, get everything sorted, and then we can talk about a race start. But at the moment, I think we just have to calm down, see what happened, and then move on from there.
All right, thank you very much, Renee.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Great to hear, as always, from Renee Rast, the three-time champion.
Okay.
More replays of these various huge incidents that we had. Philip Eng's car completely at a 90-degree angle after contact on the restart, which triggered a chain reaction. And the first incident on the restart after the safety car. Remember, the safety car out because we lost Hockenheimring with an incident on the run down through the parabolica. Lucas Auer survived it all so far. Right, let's get some more reaction down in the pits with Verena.
So I'm now here with Kelvin van der Linde, and Kelvin, we saw you also involved in some sort of incident where all of a sudden you were driving on 3 tires because your tires just flew through the air and then also hit your brother on the windshield. Luckily, nothing happened there, but what was that?
Yeah, it's crazy, the first lap and also the safety car restart was just typical DTM, everyone going, it's the finale, everyone goes full risk, and in my case, unfortunately, the tire blew up. I didn't even know that it hit my brother, but luckily, from what it looks like, his car is okay. So that would have been terrifying if that caused some damage for him, but yeah, maybe it's better that I'm behind now, so I can't get involved anymore. So.
But what is it like? I mean, you were just in the middle of this whole disastrous incident, and then all of a sudden you're just driving around with 3 tires. What is it like? I mean, there's nothing you can do in that moment.
I mean, it was a really good start, to be honest. I was up to P3 from P6, so it was looking really good. Obviously, I'm also fighting for a good result end of the year, so I went in there with high risk. Some of the championship contenders I could see were very cautious on the brakes, and then I tried to play my advantage there. But unfortunately, me and Luca, we touched on the straight, and that then punctured my tire. So I would say it's a bit of an unlucky situation. And the rest, it's played itself out now. I don't know what's going to happen with the red flag regulations, how are we going to restart, but typical DTM finale, right? Chaos, as always.
Now, in regards to the guys who got involved, and hopefully, obviously, the most important thing is they're all well and they're hopefully not going to have any damage there. But also, what is it like for you drivers? I mean, obviously, everyone's just talking about this terrible incident, right?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, first of all, the drivers are okay. From what you said, it was a big accident. Both the Porsches, especially. I really hope these guys are not having too much pain, especially Olsen. I think that was a big shunt. So that's the most important thing. And then now we need to see. I mean, that's part of the racing. Unfortunately, we know the risks we go to when we go out there, and hopefully everyone can settle down a bit now for the restart.
All right, thank you so much, Kelvin. Back to you.
Thanks very much to Verena and Kelvin van der Linde there. He had, of course, his own dramas in that race early on. He might still be involved in this race, you never know, because he had to come and pit and change his tyre. But of course, a lot of the people that were in front of him have now been obliterated from the race. There's Marco Whitman, who got the lead of the race. And having a chat with the team at Volkenhorst, Henry Volkenhorst's team, with whom he also competed last year, looking at the tyre pressures. So in a race stoppage, the rule is that all cars have to come into the pit lane, park at their pit stations and await further instructions. The cars can be worked on once they've stopped at their pit station, but it's forbidden to refuel the cars and or to remove any fuel from the car. So I can do some things to the cars, but not involving the fuel load on the cars. And when we do get back underway, in all cases, the starting order will be taken at the last point at which it was possible to determine the positions of all cars.
Okay, Luki, be ready. I have no light. I have no light, so you have to look yourself. I have no light. Be ready.
Team Radio, Lucas Auer. I can't help you. You've got to look for the light yourself. And that was the replay of the restart from Lucas's point of view, as we get some more news now from down in the pit lane.
And I'm here, and now I'm here with Philip Eng. Philip, the incident you were involved in was in the very beginning, so talk us through that, what happened there.
Well, it was absolute mayhem, and I think we should really get rid of the Indy restarts. Because, okay, it's the same start as we do at the normal race start, but you're in a different mindset as a driver because you only know, or you know that you're only going to make up places in the first lap after the restart. So if there was a vote, I would vote for a single file restart because it doesn't take any action away, but we are racing and there are not as heavy incidents as we have seen today, and I'm glad, as far as I heard, that everybody is okay because it looked extremely bad. So I'm first of all happy everybody is okay, and also happy for myself because I was involved in both accidents. Turn 1 when I think Nico Muller spun me around, and then I was right behind at the big shunt, and I was the first time in my career that I was a little bit scared.
All right, so luckily, as you said, the most important thing is that all drivers are hopefully okay. And in regards to the mindset, I mean, now everybody's waiting. Obviously, we need to hear more about what the situation is with the racetrack, and then hopefully we can do a restart. But what does it do as a driver with your head?
Well, you need to get out of the negative mindset. My guys did an outstanding job fixing my car because it looked horrible. The whole front right was missing, and they repaired it within minutes. So chapeau to them. And for myself, I think I need to sit down 2 minutes after this interview just to sort my thoughts again. And then in the end, we are racing drivers. We go racing again because that's the sport we love.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Philip, and I hope that we can do a restart. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. A really fascinating insight into what it is like as a racing driver to deal with something like that. And Philip Eng is one of the most experienced drivers on the grid. You know, he's been racing since he was a kid in karts, and he's been there and done it all. He's won the Spa 24-hour race. He's been a Porsche Super Cup champion. He's raced and won in DTM. And there he was saying, look, you know, first time in my career, I was scared by that. And look how horrific it was to watch that accident from our point of view. Imagine being in the middle of it like these racing drivers are. And you realise just how much of a different mindset these drivers have. You know, if you're involved in an incident like that on the roads, I mean, you would be worried about ever getting back in the car again. These guys are going to try and do it again as soon as they get the opportunity to do so in the restart. But there might be rivals and big rivals on the circuit, but what you do really get a sense of is the camaraderie when something like that happens, because the first thing that all the drivers have said is, look, I'm really relieved that the drivers involved in that are okay, because we're all racing drivers. Yeah, we all want to beat each other, but we're all, you know, brothers in arms to a point as well. Maro Engel, who's had his car patched up now. All the technology in the world and a bit of gaffer tape always ends up being the thing that keeps the car together, doesn't it? It's going to need more than that for Tommy Prining, though, I'm afraid. And well, the onboard that we saw as well, a huge impact, just a horrific passenger ride for him. But once again, massive credit to the strength, the design, the safety of these cars, that all the drivers have been able to walk away from that. So they will be checked out as a matter of course, I'm sure, in the medical centre. But they're all, as we saw, up on their own volition. So a really sad end to what's been a fantastic debut season in the championship for Thomas Prining. Looks unlikely that he in the car will be able to be back out for tomorrow's race. You got the thoughts of some of the drivers there on the restart procedure as well. And no news as yet as to when we're going to get back underway. But as you can see from the pictures, we've already had Dennis Olsen's car on the back of one of the flatbeds, and Thomas Prining's car is now on the flatbed. So the team of marshals are working incredibly well, incredibly quickly down there. As I say, you can work on the cars during this red flag period, and there's a lot of work going on. You know, what's a busy pit lane? This is Nico Muller's number 51 team, Rosberg Audi, which is being worked on as well. Kelvin van der Linde giving his thoughts and reaction from his point of view to the team. Ended up absolutely stone last of the runners having to go into the pits, and there are remnants of various Porsches being put back onto the one of the trucks as well to be brought back to the teams. Absolutely obliterated those cars. So a huge shunt. That might just be one of the, I think that's probably the biggest incident I've ever seen live in a race. And one which makes you just stop and think for a second, doesn't it? But we'll go racing again, and the drivers, thankfully, all look okay. But look at the amount of fluid they're having to cover up at the corner as well. Oil, fuel. We saw fuel's been spilt and the engine became detached from Dennis Olsen's Porsche, and also fluid from the obliterated radiator on the car as well. So they've got two things: make sure that fluid is covered over so it's not a slippery circuit when the cars do get back there, but also really got to be careful sweeping up the shards of bodywork, because any sharp bit of bodywork can result in punctures. So that's something they always look at as we look at Lucas Auer. So in the running order that's on the screen, and this is all to be confirmed, and they will take it at the last point at which it became possible to define the running order. But on the screen, we've got Auer, Whitman and Rast as the top three. Stolz 4th, Bortolotti 5th, Muller 6th, Eng 7th, Sheldon van der Linde 8th, Maxi Buch 9th, David Schumacher 10th, although of course he's not going to be involved in this as well. So it does look like they might, and this is only conjecture for now, but they might be going back to the positions as per the restart rather than the positions as they were at the red flag, because of course that was the last complete lap of the race, was when they were behind the safety car. So that would put potentially Lucas Auer back ahead of Marco Whitman for the restart. Well, there then you can see the sweepers on a circuit now to again continue to get those bits of debris up, just get the loose dust off the top of the fluid as well. But they are getting there, aren't they? There'll be some barrier damage potentially from the incident earlier on in the lap as well. That's being worked on. There's Arjun Miney's car. That was the car which you saw in the barrier, backing into the barrier after a spin and a half with contact on the initial start on the way through Parabolica, and a big hit for Arjun as well. But gladly again we saw him walk away, and okay, that car out of the race, but hopefully not in such a bad way that it's going to be out of the race tomorrow. That Maxi Guts is one that started near the back of the field, but he's been climbing up the order with all these destroyed cars ahead of him. And there, Rolf Inaischen, who we saw involved in the first incident on the restart with his damaged Lamborghini. As we get some more news now from Verena in the pits.
And I'm here with Sheldon van der Linde. I mean, Sheldon, we talked just before the race, and looking at your face, I knew that you were tense, because maybe you were expecting a very tight race, but I guess this is nothing that we all. I mean, did you expect it to be this
aggressive? No,
maybe?
not at all. I think it was a bit over the limit the first two laps. Obviously, it helped me in the end. I don't know how I stayed out of everything. I have no idea. I mean, I got a tire for my brother in the windscreen. I'm just happy that my windscreen is still intact somehow. But yeah, obviously not nice to see. I mean, I'm just happy everyone's okay, because I saw some massive crashes now, which I actually watch afterwards. All of it of which was behind me mostly. So not nice to see, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with how I came through. There's literally 0 scratches on my car, which is obviously very good for me. But obviously we need to really focus now, because anything can happen, and I would have never thought that it would turn out like this a few minutes ago.
You started in P16 and you really did well. As you said, you kept out of all the trouble and you managed to come all the way to P8. So I mean, regarding that, the car's fast, you did a brilliant job there. So in regards to that, if we get a restart, I guess you have you have good chances, obviously, for the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to see the rules now, because I think it goes 2 laps back, which means I would be P8, which is still good in the end, but obviously P6 is even better. So I hope I can keep my position where I ended before the red flag, obviously, but we need to see how that works out. The most important thing is that my car's okay and that everything's still fine to race now. And yeah, all my main rivals are right in front of me, but we need to be clever about this, because in the end, we don't want to see anyone of us getting hurt or anything.
Absolutely. And let me just ask, in regards to the penalty, how was that possible? I mean, you were pushed back 10 places because of this penalty. How was that possible?
5 minutes now. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know I mean, what I heard was that the rules are only here for Hockenheim because of the noise restrictions and stuff. So you only have 1 hour before qualifying where all the tires have to be off. Apparently the rear left of mine was still on because the guys were doing pit stop practice. And that's all I really know. So I think that's why. I think we were one of the only cars to have the tires still on at that point with 1 hour to go, and that's why we got the penalty.
So now less than 5 minutes means you need to focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, best of luck.
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Sheldon, and then back to you.
Thanks, Farina. Sterling work as ever down in the pit lane, and Sheldon van der Linden live on air getting the call. As we heard, 5 minutes to get yourselves ready. So we are facing imminently the restart as we had these replays of these huge incidents, particularly that one, which brought about the red flag. And then they're coming together between Preining and Schumacher. Just behind there, they're coming together between Feller and Olsen, and then the fireball from Olsen's car as the engine became detached, spun around 2 or 3 times. Nick Cassidy did well to, I mean, he did hit him, but he did well to avoid the spinning Porsche, and that was the reaction that we saw in the garages. Everybody concerned for the safety and well-being of the drivers, who, just to reiterate, are all okay, have all walked away from the cars, all being given checked out by the medical crew, but they all got out of the car on their own. We've seen them all okay. So we're going to get restarted. To answer Sheldon's question, it is looking almost certain that he's going to have to restart from 8th place, because they'll go back to the last position at which they could truly define the starting order, and or the order in which the cars were running, and that really was before that restart got underway. So subject to confirmation this, but it should be Lucas Auer that will lead the restart, with Marco Whitman alongside, Renee Rast 3rd, Lukas Stoltz 4th, Mirko Bortolotti 5th, Nico Muller 6th, Philipp Eng 7th, Sheldon van der Linden 8th, having started the race 16th with a 10-place grid penalty, Maxi Bug 9th, David Schumacher is not going to be 10th because that car is not going to be there, and then it will be Clement Schmidt, no Thomas Preining, Christian Engelhardt will effectively be 11th, Maro Engel 12th, Ricardo Feller, I think they've got the car fixed, will be the next one, so effectively 13th, and then no Rolf in Eichen, so Maxi Götz 14th effectively, Marius Sugg 15th, Felipe Fraga 16th, Dev Gore 17th, Nick Cassidy 18th, question mark over Michael Grenier, not sure that one's going to be back out, and so what's it going to be, 19th effectively for Kelvin van der Linden, no Olsen, and then we'll have to see about Deleda and Kohler's cars as well, no Argentini of course either. So that is confirmation then, just come up on the screen, that is going to be the restart order. So that's going to be the restart order. The clock stopped with 39 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. Remember, nobody's yet made their mandatory pit stop, so it's 39 minutes and 50 plus, well, 3 laps, because that's what we lost by the safety car. But we will get confirmation of exactly, with that red flag coming in the race, what the restart distance and duration is going to be. But teams being ready, drivers being ready to go back into to battle. Let's hope it's a calmer restart that we get when we do have the action back underway here in this penultimate race of DTM 2022, with one of the key championship contenders, Thomas Preining, amongst those involved in a series of big accidents at the start of this race and on the restart of the race. And Thomas out of the race, and with the car looking very unlikely to be taking any further part, not just in today's race, but in the rest of the weekend. Such is the damage to the Koos Team Bernhard Porsche. Likewise, I would suggest for Dennis Olsen. So, qualified 6th, ended up 16th on the grid. As he said, somehow got through all of that carnage, and there was lots of it going on in front of Sheldon van der Linden, including his brother's detached tyre hitting the windscreen of his BMW after Kelvin van der Linden, and coming together through the hairpin with first Maro Engel into the corner, and then coming out of the corner Lukas Stoltz lost his tyre. That flicked up in the air and hit, ironically, the windscreen of his brother who's going for the championship title, but all is okay. But other than that, not a scratch on the car, says Sheldon van der Linden. So he survived it all, and he's up there, and he's not far behind his remaining key championship rivals. Auer second in the championship, 8 points behind, will restart from effectively pole position. Rast, who is 3rd in the championship table and 12 points behind Sheldon van der Linden, is going to start 3rd. Bortolotti, who's 5th in the championship, is going to restart in 5th. He's 15 points behind van der Linden, and then you've got van der Linden in 8th place. Thomas Preining 4th in the championship, out of the race. Lukas Stoltz 6th in the championship, is also ahead of him in 4th place. Nico Muller still in with a long shout this, but still with a chance of the title. Nico Muller 7th in the standings, is also ahead of Sheldon van der Linden in 6th place. He's also been one of the many cars that's had some impact and some damage on that restart race, but the car looked good to go. Dennis Olsen 8th in the championship, still mathematically had a chance of the title coming into this race. He now obviously drops out with, therefore, 8 drivers now left mathematically that can still win the championship title, the last of which is Kelvin van der Linde, who is currently sitting 9th in the championship, but he has to close the gap to the top of the table to his brother to, after this race, 28 points. He has to be 20. He's got 29 points left after this race, 26 for the win and the fastest lap tomorrow, 3 points if you get pole, but he's never going to match his brother's 3 race wins, so that's impossible now for Kelvin. So to stay in the championship fight, Kelvin van der Linde will have to, instead of being 50 points behind, which is what he is now, get the gap down to 28 points. And of course he's towards the back of the restart here, having had that puncture, well not puncture, but the tyre being ripped from the car and the pit stop early on. So there, the restart order confirmed on the screen. Clock having stopped at 39 minutes and 50 seconds plus 1 lap, and with multiple cars now out of the race. So Marco Wittmann's going to have to do it all again if he wants to try to get the lead away from Lucas Auer. Remember, Marco is not one of the drivers going for the championship title. So we're going to get news coming through, 1 lap behind the safety car and then the start. So that's how it's going to tell out. So Marco Wittmann, what can he do with no worries about championship points, just trying to get the race win? We saw his commitment earlier on. The 2-time champion about to get back into what's his 161st race in the championship, looking for his 18th win. He hasn't had a win since Assen last year, and he was, of course, for much of the season fighting for the championship, Marco Wittmann. So middle of last year, more than 12 months since Marco Wittmann won a race. What can he do here? Lucas Auer won a race towards the start of the season. It's been his only win of 2022. The very first race of the year at Portimao, more than 6 months ago. And Renee Rast behind the pair of them, looking for his first win since the 3rd weekend of the season at Imola. So team radio there from Lucas Auer as we go on board with the driver second in the championship. It's going to lead them round for the start of the race. Right, news through from DTM. All 6 drivers are in the medical centre for a routine checkup. So being checked up, but it's routine, and that by inference, and from what we saw of the cars getting out of the drivers getting out of the cars on their own, is confirmation that largely the drivers are okay. So massive relief. So thanks for that information just coming through to the commentary box. Right there you can see the corner where it all happened, and the dust had been put down, the debris has been swept away, and the cars now making their way through that left-hander at turn 8. So we're going to get another lap after this behind the safety car. This is the out lap, then it's 1 lap behind the safety car, and then we'll get the restart underway with still the mandatory pit stops to come. All of your key 4 championship contenders that remain in the top 8 in the race, with the championship leader Sheldon van der Linde in 8th place, having had a lively but good start initially and then good restart. He had got as high as 6th, but they've gone back to the order before the last restart, and so he slips back a couple of places to 8th. Right, Lucas Auer, Marco Wittmann and Renee Rast then were with the top 3, and there's 1 more lap behind the safety car. As across the line, the time does start to tick down, so this will count as race time. We lost laps obviously to the safety car earlier on, so 55-minute plus 1 lap race should become a 55-minute plus 3 lap race, because you can add up to 2 laps on behind the safety car. There remains 39.5 minutes in the race, so 39.5 minutes to go. By the time they get back around to the start-finish line after a couple of minutes behind the safety car, we're probably looking at around about 38 minutes of racing. Although, actually, having said that, the clock is on the timing screen just stopped and reset itself to 39 minutes and 50 seconds. And now it starts to count down again. So anyway, around about 38 minutes of racing there will be, plus that 1 lap at the end of the race. We've only really had 1 lap of racing, haven't we, so far? And that ended initially with that incident with Hockenheimring bringing about the safety car. Right, a single file restart is the news that comes through from race control. So it's going to be a single file restart. Which is probably a good idea given what we had earlier on. So single file restart. Lucas Auer therefore will have a much better chance of holding on to the lead of the race from Marco Whitman on the run in towards turn 1 at the Nordkurve, which is a 4th gear corner. Not too much speed off through there. First real heavy braking zone is turn 2, where they drop it down from 5th down to 2nd gear, brake at about the 100-metre mark, and then the exit to turn 2, absolutely critical. You got that long run on the gas then before you even think about hitting the brakes. About 120 metres before you get to turn 6, the Spitzkeiler hairpin, after reaching almost top speed of 265 kilometres an hour. Right then, so the cars come back into my view. Look at the commentary box window. I see them coming back into the stadium section, heading towards the Sachskurve. The crowd patiently watching from the grandstand after that delay. The safety car has sprinted away from them with the lights out now, which is a signal to us and to the drivers. They're about to get back underway. The clock has continued to tick down after being reset. So in fact, it's going to be just about 35 minutes of racing. There's 35 minutes plus 10 seconds on the clock, plus the 1 lap at the end of it all. And Lucas Auer is about to lead us back into action then for round 15 of DTM 2022. Goes racing again. Auer, Whitman and Rast the top 3. Lucas Stolz behind in 4th. The single file restart is, pause for breath, calm, thankfully, through turn 1. Everybody gets through with no problems, and there the top 8 remain exactly as they were at the line, with Sheldon van der Linder at the back of the group in the number 31 Schubert Motorsports BMW, behind his teammate Philipp Eng. And Schubert Motorsport run those 2 BMWs in 7th and 8th and are looking for the team's championship title as well, with a 43-point advantage. But in terms of the Drivers' Championship, you would think that if Sheldon can get somewhere close and alongside Philipp Eng, he's not going to make life too hard for his teammate, as Felipe Fraga tries a move down the inside and pulls it off. Good move that, under braking from the Brazilian to gain a place back after that puts him ahead of Maxi Götz, up into 12th place now for the first of the Ferraris, with Nick Cassidy back in 24th position. So work their way through turns 8, 9, 10 and 11. Head out towards the Mobile 1 curve now. This 90-degree right-hander come back into the stadium section in the final sector of the lap, and Lucas Auer pushing on. Marco Whitman staying with him. Renee Rast is the one he's really worried about, though, in terms of the championship, and he's there in 3rd place and has fallen away a little bit. Lucas Stolz 6th in the championship, still running in 4th position. They're the long list of drivers that we lost from the race, so it's a calmer restart. Partially because of the single file restart, partially because there's only 17 cars left in the race now. The last runner being Alessio De Lado, is having his first race in this type of car at Hockenheimring. He raced here once, that was back in his Formula Renault days in 2019. Replay of Felipe Fraga's nicely executed, good clean move, that from the Brazilian down the inside of Maxi Götz. But we have got drivers in for their mandatory pit stops coming in already. Lucas Stolz, Maxi Götz and Kelvin van der Linde, of course, has already been in, but it didn't count as a mandatory stop on the first lap of the race when he had to change his tyre. Stolz will be the leading pit stopper. It should then be Götz, but I don't think Kelvin is going to be too far behind the reigning champion, and indeed he's not, as the Ab Sportsline team release him. But the best stop there is for, once again, the HRT squad, who've been absolutely mint at their pit stops this year. 6.9 seconds they got Luca turned around in, so he's got a fairly big advantage, as he had anyway, over the 2 other pit stoppers before they came in. Right, the top 2 then, almost inseparable. Mercedes from BMW. Remember, Mercedes with a 1-point lead in the manufacturer standings as well over Audi. The leading Audi is in 3rd place. That is Rennie Rast, who's won 2 of his 3 championship titles here at Hockenheim in the very last race of the season. So he's been here before. And there we've got Nico Muller, something flying off the Audi just in front of Philipp Eng, with then Sheldon van der Linde pressing just behind in the number 31 machine, the reigning championship leader, trying to pick his way through the order here and keep his championship lead, which he won't do if it stays like this, with Lucas Auer out front on course for 25 points, and for 7th place, Sheldon van der Linde will get 6 points, 19 fewer, and only an 8-point lead coming into this weekend's first race, as we've got Christian Engelhardt coming into the pits as the next of the pit stoppers. Maro Engel and Leon Kohler have come into the pits as well, looking out of the commentary box window. Cars 88, Maro Engel, 74, Felipe Fraga, 25, Philipp Eng, 18, which is Maxi Buch, and 4, which is Lukas Stolz. Looking at that and the red flag procedure are the stewards. So they're being investigated, something to do with the red flag procedure. And one of the key one is Lukas Stolz there, who's the leading pit stopper, or should remain the leading pit stopper once Kohler, Engel and Engelhardt emerge just behind them. And there you can see Engel and Guts just about getting out ahead in the end of Christian Engelhardt. Pretty good stop that from the SSR Performance team. Kelvin van der Linde just behind with his tyres up to temperature. Will try and come at them now. He's not quite close enough, to, don't think, to attack on the way down into the hairpin. And there we've got Sheldon van der Linde ahead of Philipp Eng now. So Sheldon's up to 6th place now. Felipe Fraga has continued his progress as well. He's come up to 9th position in the Ferrari just there in the background. So our leads, Whitman 2nd, Rast 3rd, Bortolotti 4th, Muller in 5th. And this is how it happened, a replay of Sheldon van der Linde getting past his teammate Philipp Eng into the braking zone, down the inside. And Philipp sensibly giving his teammate and the championship leader enough room on the way into the Spitzkehrer hairpin. So back up to where he should have started in the first place now, had it not been for the penalty. Sheldon van der Linde, in fact, he was 1 place better off. He's up to 5th place now because Renee Rast has come into the pits. So Rast is in. There he is. First of our championship contenders to come in. So Rast and the AB Sportsline team with a critical pit stop now. And an early pit stop, the first to blink. Maxi Buch is also in. Decent stop, not a brilliant stop, 8.7 seconds. Not a great stop though for Rennie Rast, 9.1 seconds, and he's going to struggle to come out in front of Lukas Stolz here, who he was in front of. They were 3rd and 4th before the pit stop started to happen. Lukas Stolz is behind him, but he's got his tyres up to temperature. He goes from the right to the left to the right side of the track. He goes down the inside of the way into turn 2, and he gets past Rennie Rast. So he remains the leading pit stopper. And that will put Rast as the 2nd of the pit stoppers, but effectively that might just bump him off the podium because Stolz effectively has picked up 3rd place now, and they were 3rd and 4th, but the other way around before they both came in to make their pit stops. So that really effective pit stop work again from the HRT squad. Hubert Haupt's team has helped their driver to gain a place, and a pretty critical one as well. Remember, Lukas Stolz continues to fight for this championship title as well. Should move up into the top 5 now, given that Thomas Spriding's out of contention in a big way, as we focus back on Lucas Auer, who's going to dive for the pits. So Auer comes in, the next of the championship contenders to come in, and Marco Wittmann has followed him as well, so the top 2 come in. Mirko Bortolotti is going to pick up the lead of the race. Nico Muller's going to move now into 2nd, Sheldon van der Linde into 3rd place. So this a big moment again for the teams. Lucas Auer, can they get this right at a problem with the wheel in the pit stop in race 1 at Spa, which potentially cost him a podium. Then he had a puncture later on. He's going to get out just in front of Marco Wittmann, so they remain in the same order, but they're up against Lukas Stolz, who is flying over the start-finish line now, and they are going to get out ahead of him, but they won't be that far ahead of him by the time they get down to the hairpin, as he carries more speed around turn number 1, comes after them. But effectively, this is, once it all settles down, should be your top 4. Auer, Wittmann, and then Stolz ahead of Rast. They're not the top 4 at the moment, with others still to make their pit stops, but they should be once it all settles down. And Wittmann really going for it now, looking for his first win of the season, his first win for over 12 months. It would only be his 2nd podium finish of a frustrating 2022, but the car has looked good all weekend long. In the top 4 in the free practice session, down to the hairpin they go. Getting their tyres up to temperature pretty quickly as well, helped by the fact that it's not a particularly cold day here given the time of year at Hockenheim. There's side-by-side action with Maro Engel and Max Buch, and Max Guts as well just behind. Max Buch holds them off, stays for now at the head of the group. Here's a replay of tiny bit of contact there between Engel and Buch as they came through the stadium section. Just trying to sneak up the inside there was the Mercedes driver. But it wasn't quite to be, as Marco Wittmann has a big look at the inside of Lucas Auer on the way through Mobile 1 curve into the left-hander at the Sachs curve they come. Philippe Eng into the pit lane just in front of me in the commentary box. Has come in as well from what was 5th place. So your virtual leader is Lucas Auer. And he's virtually got the BMW of Marco Whitman on top of him, breathing down his neck as they come out over the grid hatchings to complete another lap with just over 26 minutes left on the clock. Stoltz, Annette 3rd. Rast struggling for pace a bit here this weekend. Annette 4th place. Almost 60 times the AB Sportsline team have raced here at Hockenheim. They know the circuit well. The car isn't quite on top form at the moment as Eng comes out behind them and ahead of Maxi Buch, Maro Engel, Max Gutz and Kelvin van der Linde, who gets at the inside now. And a little bit of contact between the Audi and the Mercedes on the way out of the corner, but he's got ahead of the reigning champion. So van der Linde beginning one of these charges up the order, having had that extra pit stop with the tyre damage right at the beginning of the race. So he charges on. So the ones that haven't made their pit stops are Bortolotti, Muller, Sheldon van der Linde and Felipe Fraga, who are the top 4 in the race now. So they've still got to make their mandatory pit stop some point in the next 10 minutes. And side by side go Christian Engelhardt and Max Gutz. The Porsche is going to try and get out of the Mercedes, does so, and then comes off the line on the way into turn 8. So a nice move that from Engelhardt, the former Block Pod Endurance champion and Porsche Carrera Cup and Porsche Super Cup start on his DTM debut, looking to get some points here. He can get points as well because he's in a car which is already registered for the championship rather than being a guest driver, and that will potentially affect things if he gets in the top 10 for the championship contenders as well. But for now we concentrate on the battle for the net lead of the race between Lucas Auer and Marco Whitman. They're 7th and 8th at the moment because Bortolotti, Muller, Sheldon van der Linde, Felipe Fraga, Dev Gore and Lasse de Leider are the top 6, but have got to come in at some point to make that mandatory stop. There's Philippe Eng, just managing to keep that Max Buch battle behind him, and Maro Engel as well. But they're going to be in the points, no doubt about it, once the top 6 come in, or some of them will come out behind those drivers. So Bortolotti 2.6 seconds clear of Muller and 3.4 seconds clear of Sheldon van der Linde are the top 3 on the road at the moment. Best lap of the race, and the bonus point that goes with that at the moment belongs to Lucas Auer. And you wouldn't be at all surprised if this championship ends up being decided by a single point. So they all mean a lot. And Lucas Auer's got the bonus point at the moment with a 1 minute 38.432. Bortolotti, well, the tyres haven't really been used that much. We've had more than half an hour's racing, but we've not had much under full race pace, so the tyres ought to be able to last until right towards the end of the stint. And indeed, best lap of the race personally for Mirko Bortolotti last time through with a 1:38.7. He's just on a 1:38.9. And we've got Sheldon van der Linde coming into the pits. So the championship leader has come into the pits. There he is on your screens now. Lights flashing, stick to the pit lane speed limit. 6 members of the crew can control the pit stop. Only 4 of them can deal with the tyres though. Change the rears, change the fronts. Big pit stop this for the Schubert Motorsport team. They change the rears, they change the fronts. Away they go, it looks pretty good. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. 8.1 seconds. There go Auer and Whitman. There goes Stoltz. And he might tuck in just behind Luca Stoltz, but just ahead of Renee Rast, potentially. He will. He'll be just ahead of Rast. Is one of his championship rivals. These are 1st and 3rd in the championship. On board with Renee Rast now. Out wide on the cold tyres goes Sheldon van der Linde, and Renee Rast gets past him on the way out through turn 3 and 4 and into Parabolica, the Audi ahead of the BMW. But of course Sheldon will have those tyres up to temperature by the end of the lap, and then have slightly fresher tyres at the end of the race. So effectively, once it settles down, we're going to have Auer, Whitman, Stoltz, Rast and Sheldon van der Linde in the top 6. It's just where Mirko Bortolotti will come out in all of this, because he leads the race. And also Nico Muller's got a chance as well. They're both pushing on. Fastest lap of the race again has gone to Lucas Auer, the 1:38.390. Currently 6th on the road with Bortolotti, Muller, Fraga, Gore and de Leider. The drivers ahead of him all still to come into the pits. Bortolotti at the moment is 26.5 seconds ahead of Auer. He's got 26.5 seconds to come in, make the pit stop, get back out again. It's going to be somewhere, maybe not around Aaron Whitman, but it's going to be somewhere around Stoltz and Rast and Sheldon van der Linde in the battle for the final spot on the podium, I would say. So we'll look at Leon Kohler in his second weekend of DTM and switch then to the race leader, Mirko Bortolotti, yet to win a race in DTM. Likewise, Lamborghini. Now would be perfect timing if they're to do that. Cool as ice when Verena spoke to him on the grid. He's just going to enjoy this. This is what we do it for these battles, for these moments. And he's turned this all into a positive. And he looks one of the most relaxed drivers out there this weekend, because he's fought and won for championship titles before. But this is the first time in DTM and his first full season of the championship. As the driver, they got Lamborghini, their first ever podium in DTM last year at Assen. He was a guest driver that weekend. And the Italian who led the first half of the championship, trying to get back on terms with those ahead of him, trying to get the most from this car and time the pit stop to perfection. Bit loose there coming through the Mobile 1 curve. Into the Sachs curve he comes, and he's going to have to come in the next 5 minutes and 20 seconds before the pit window closes to get his mandatory pit stop done. I don't think he's going to come in on this lap though, looking at the angle of the car. No, he stays out for another lap. Nico Muller is about 3.5 seconds behind him now. There's your net leader, Lucas Auer. Nobody from the top 6 has come in yet, but they're going to come in within the next couple of laps of the race. Marco Whitman hasn't quite got an answer to Lucas at the moment, who's looking to get his second win of the season and a crucial 25, maybe 26 points. Felipe Fraga has come in. So Fraga comes in. That leaves just 4 drivers yet to make their mandatory pit stop. So this is what Lucas Auer up to 5th, Marco Whitman up to 6th place as they come through over the line. Lucas Stoltz not with them in terms of pace. Sheldon van der Linde starting to come back at Renee Rast. Now that he's got the tyres up to temperature, this is going to be a key battle in terms of the championship here. And Bortolotti's going to come out somewhere around them, maybe just in front of them. So Renee Rast versus Sheldon van der Linde. Driver 3rd in the championship, the driver 1st in the championship. A 3-time champion, somebody looking to become a 1st-time champion. Audi versus BMW. The Grasser Racing team are ready. And so Bortolotti or Deleda are coming in next, because Deleda's still out there as well, currently running in 4th place. On board with Mirko Bortolotti. The Grasser Racing team, Lamborghini, I can see through the windows, just coming into the Sachs curve now. And is this going to be for him, or is it going to be for the other remaining GRT Lamborghini? As we've got Sheldon van der Linde now arriving in 3rd place effectively, ahead of Renee Rast, or 4th place effectively, ahead of Renee Rast. This is how it happened. Replay, down the inside, under braking, squeezing through, just at the Spitskara hairpin. Rennie Rast gave him racing room, and that was a crucial change. So van der Linde ahead of Rast as Bortolotti is coming into the pits. Big pit stop now for the team. Keeping an eye out of the window. Lucas Auer and Marco Whitman are just coming around the last corner at Sudkurva, and just now going over the grid hatchings and over the start-finish line. There they are. And Bortolotti is going to be somewhere around van der Linde and Rast, I think. Stoltz would get through turn 1 in front of him. So it could be 4th, the net 4th. He's going to be behind van der Linde, and he might be behind Rast. He will be. So he's going to be behind them, but he's going to have slightly fresher tyres for the end of the race as well. He needs to keep Philip Eng behind him, because Philip Eng's going to make that BMW wide, help his teammate out, and he's not been able to do it. So Philip Eng gets ahead of Bortolotti as well, losing time in the pit stop. News as well that the race will not be extended by 2 laps, so it is going to be just a +1 lap. So we've got 17 minutes, 20 seconds and 1 lap to go in the race. That's because of the red flag that we had. So that's the news from race control for us and for the teams. A +1 lap race, no extension. So Auer, Whitman, effectively the top 2. Once the pit stops are sorted out, Stoltz 3rd, but for how long? Because here comes Sheldon van der Linde, and he's absolutely flying at this stage of the race. He's just done the absolute best first sector. He's left Rennie Rast behind. You've got Mirko Bortolotti trying to get in the mix as well. Once he gets his tyres up to temperature, it could be a really interesting final 15 minutes of the race for the Italian, and for us watching him as Nico Muller now makes his way into the pits from the lead of the race. Dev Gore can't come in because he's a Team Rosberg driver as well, and they can't double stack in the pits, so Gore will have to stay out for one lap and come in right at the end of the window. And he'll pick up the lead of the race. And Alessio De Leda will move into second, so they're going to come in at the end of the next lap. Nico Muller lights up the tyres. Rosberg team let him go. The Audi heads down the pit lane. There comes Auer and Whitman through. They'll pick up third and fourth places now, but it will effectively be first and second. We've still got Lucas Stoltz just ahead of Sheldon van der Linde. And then it's going to be Nico Muller joining in just behind Renee Rast, I think. So Nico Muller versus Renee Rast. We've seen that before a few times, haven't we, going for the championship title. Muller trying to stay in championship contention here. Right, Lucas Stoltz under more and more pressure now from Sheldon van der Linde. The gap coming down, as you can see, the BMW right underneath the rear wing of the Mercedes. Remember, Lucas got 15 kilograms of success ballast on board, having finished second in the previous race. The doors opened up, the gap is there, through down the inside he comes. That's the De Leda car pulling off as well with a problem. So he's out of the action, he's going to have to pit anyway. And there, Sheldon van der Linde effectively has got himself up onto the podium now once it all settles itself down. And then you've got Mirko Bortolotti, having lost that time in the pit stop, is also going to try and find a way past Nico Muller, who came out ahead of him as well. And then De Leda's car stopped in the background. So this, after being hugely frustrating news that for him and for the team that he got this 10-place grid penalty, must have been feeling at a real low there, but he somehow stayed positive. He somehow kept smiling on the grid. And those positive vibes have worked out for him now, because here he is on course for a podium. Yes, he's going to lose points as it stands to Lucas Auer, but he's beating everybody else, and it's still up to them to catch up. And if he does finish third, he'll score 10 points fewer than Lucas Auer on race points, and still with a bonus point for the fastest lap is Lucas, so 11, and that will be therefore a 3-point lead going into the last race of the season for Lucas Auer, if it stays like this. Once Dev Gore comes into the pits. So Alessio De Leda out of the race. Here's a replay at the moment. Sheldon van der Linde cruised at the inside of Lucas Stoltz to effectively put the Mercedes driver off the podium. And there in the background, you can see pulling off the circuit was the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini of De Leda, and Schubert Motorsport are very pumped up about that. Their man is doing them proud at the moment. There it was, right in front of the battle between Sheldon van der Linde and Lucas Stoltz. So De Leda walks away, out of the race he is. Unfortunate for him, he was just about to come in and make his mandatory pit stop, with the window having now closed. Right, the Lamborghini of Mirko Bortolotti trying to get out the inside of Nico Muller on the way through the right-hander at turn number 8. Through he goes. Does he? Not quite. Nico Muller fends him off, but then goes wide. Right-hander coming up. The Audi should be on the inside line. He'll go wide again coming out of the corner, but Mirko Bortolotti can't quite find a way through as they come out through turn 12 now, head up towards the Mobil 1 curve. Still Mirko Bortolotti not quite through, but he's having a go here. He's going to give this everything for the last 13 minutes to see how high up the order he can possibly get. Every position, every extra few points, they're all going to count, and he knows it. So Mirko Bortolotti on it. Remember, they've both got pretty fresh tyres. They both had pretty late pit stops as well. And Nico Muller slightly fresher tyres on his Audi, in fact. And through they come. Dev Gore has stayed out on track. And 6.2 seconds ahead of Lucas Auer, with Lucas Stoltz under pressure now from Renee Rast there, as you saw them heading off towards the next corner. Rast is right within there, Philippine. There's Nico Muller, there's Mirko Bortolotti through as well. Contact between Engel and Miney from early on in the race noted. Yellow flags waving down at the hairpin there for the stricken Lamborghini of Alessio De Leda, and there the live championship standings as it is, with Lucas Auer currently in second place. Dev Gore been in the pits. Dev Gore's shown as having had a stop. He's coming right at the start, in fact. He might have come in right at the start, mightn't he, at the of the restart session once the cars got going again. So he is shown as the race leader here, Dev Gore, and maybe not to come into the pits yet. 6 seconds is his advantage, but he's been caught a second a lap by Lucas Auer. So Lucas is going to get, as it stands, 18 points, not 25, plus a point for the fastest lap of the race, 19. Sheldon van der Linde, as it stands, is in 4th place, is going to get 12 points. And still, Nico Muller frustrates Mirko Bortolotti, can't quite find a way through. Renee Rast, though, has dropped back a little bit here from Lucas Stoltz. You're on board with Renee now. Team radio, but we can't hear it on Renee Rast's car from AB Sportsline. The lead for Dev Gore, 5.5 seconds.
Stay focused, Renee, stay focused. We do whatever we can.
No, he's not happy with the car, is he? We didn't get the first part of that transmission, but the last part of it was, then Bortolotti will pass me, so he's worried that they're all going to come charging past him. Just stay calm, just stay focused, they say to him, with 10 minutes and 42 seconds left on the clock. What can Rennie Rast dig out of this race? Philippe Eng down the inside of him, down the inside of Lucas Stoltz as well, past the pair of them, and then Rennie Rast is going to end up getting to the head of that trio. So Lucas Stoltz drops down 2 places, trying to just stay out of the way of Philippe Eng, who was the last of the late breakers there, got past both of them, ends up past one of them. Lucas Stoltz loses out, and Rennie Rast benefits from that. Mirko Bortolotti desperately needs to try and find a way past Nico Muller, but Nico's not going to let him pass because he still has an outside chance of the championship title here. The gap down from Dev Gore to Lucas Auer at 5 seconds now. So to confirm, it is showing that he had the pit stop. We didn't see it, but it was, I think, early on in the session. And he got a podium this year in Italy by clever pit stop work, clever strategy, Dev Gore. First American ever to get a DTM podium. Could he get a win here? Well, he's just going over the start-finish line now. Tyres are older, pace isn't as good as Lucas Auer. Has definitely pulled away from Marco Whitman now as he goes through. The gap down to 4.6 seconds. He'd dearly love 25 points instead of 18. So he's going to be going for it as you ride on board now with Mirko Bortolotti back in 9th place. Nico Muller in 8th place, just ahead of him. It's not worked out with that pit stop. He lost a lot of ground there. He got the lead of the race with others having already made their pit stops, but he was a top 5 runner before all of the drivers started coming in. He's ended up back towards the tail end of the point scorers here, Mirko Bortolotti. He looks quicker than Nico Muller, but he can't find a way through. They're both trying to catch up to Lucas Stoltz, who looks like he's struggling with the car a bit now. He's on that lap the slowest one in the top 10, although in fairness he had to get out of the way of Philippe Eng, didn't he, through the hairpin. So here we go, another attack potentially coming here from Mirko Bortolotti, trying to carry the speed around the outside of the hairpin to whip back up the inside, and he's got a chance here as he goes up through the gears, accelerates up to 2nd, 3rd, 4th gear, the right-hander coming up, the Lamborghini is at the inside, and past Nico Muller he goes, crucially then, to pick up what's going to be 8th place, doubles his points, goes from 2 points to 4 with that. Lucas Auer now just 3.7 seconds behind Dev Gore. On course for 19 points. Can he make it? 26 points. 2nd place for him at the moment. Marco Whitman in 3rd. Sheldon van der Linde is 4th. That would give him 12 championship points. And then Renee Rast is in 5th place, and that would give him 10 championship points. Thomas Preining is out. 4 points on the way at the moment to Mirko Bortolotti for being in 8th place. But he might not be 8th for long because he's already onto the tail of Lucas Stoltz. So by my maths at the moment, the championship just 1 point between Sheldon van der Linde and Lucas Auer. But Sheldon clinging on to the championship lead unless Lucas Auer gets the lead of the race, which he's still got plenty of time to do. A feint up the inside there from Mirko Bortolotti. Struggling a bit with the car and the tyres though. Under acceleration is Lucas Stoltz, the HRT man, coming under more and more pressure now from Mirko Bortolotti. And this is what we've come to expect from Mirko. Entertainment as he goes absolutely side by side with Lucas Stoltz into the hairpin, trying to go around the outside. He's done him. He's done him on the brakes. He's gone through. He's just got to slow the Lamborghini enough to get through the corner, which he has done, and that's another critical move. So that puts him now up to 7th place.
6 laps to go. 2 cars ahead, our target. Come on.
Right, being willed on as if he needed to be willed on by the team. So now that moves him on to 6 points and 121 points. That moves him up to 4th in the championship, of course, ahead of Thomas Preining and within 21 points of the championship lead, with, after this race, 29 available. So it's slim but he's still got a chance of the championship if it stays like this. Look at Marco Whitman as well, putting the pressure on. He had been dropped by Lucas Auer, not anymore. Marco absolutely flying, so this is a bit stressful for Lucas Auer. He's trying to catch Dev Gore for the lead of the race, but he's also now trying to defend his second place from Marco Whitman. Dev Gore has found a bit of pace. He's still being caught, but not by as much. The gap's 3.1 seconds. Lucas Auer was flying after him, but now if he's going to have to defend, that could play into the hands of the American. Sheldon van der Linde in the background in 4th place, watching this go on with interest. If they hold each other up, he might be able to get involved as well. Can Marco Whitman do him a favour here and take some points away from Lucas Auer? Renee Rast is in 5th, ahead of Philipp Eng in 6th, Mirko Bortolotti in 7th.
Track limits to use if you want. You have 3 track limits to use if you want. And we saw Whitman, we saw track limits.
Whitman down the inside of Auer, on the hairpin, goes deep though. Auer's going to get him back coming out of the corner. Briefly, Marco Whitman took 2nd place away from Lucas Auer, but it was only briefly. Lucas saw it coming. All that while we get the team radio to say, look, you've got 3, you haven't done any track limits yet. You can push it, you can go over the white lines. You get away with it 3 times before you get a penalty. Well, all of this helping out Dev Gore, who is being reeled in by these two, but they're holding each other up, they're tripping up each other, and they're allowing Dev Gore to keep the lead of the race, although the gap is down to 2.7 seconds. You know what's going to happen, don't you? They're going to catch him on the last lap of the race. That's what's going to happen. So hold on, everybody. Don't turn away. Sheldon van der Linde watching it all go on. Lucas Auer remains in 2nd place, on course for 18 points, plus a bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Sheldon van der Linde, he's going to score 7 fewer points as it stands. For 4th, he's got an 8-point lead. It will become a 1-point lead in the championship from Lucas Auer. Can you believe it? 1 single point between them going into the final race of the season. As it stands, Renee Rast would be 14 behind, and Mirko Bortolotti would be 21 points behind. Thomas Breining 26 behind, mathematically still in the championship, but looking very unlikely, I would say, to be involved in the action tomorrow. So it will become a 4-horse race. Marco Whitman is the fly in the ointment here, though, in the BMW, isn't he? Just trying to get a race win here if you can. He's thinking, if I can get past Lucas Auer, I can get the win here. But he's not going to be able to get past him yet. All the time they're being reeled in by Sheldon van der Linde, who did a 1:39.1 last time around. 1:40.1 for Marco Whitman as he outbraked himself trying to get past Lucas Auer. So getting a second closer on that previous lap was Sheldon van der Linde. By the way, Mirko Bortolotti has now got the fastest lap of the race last time around. With the fastest lap of the race, he takes a point away from Lucas Auer and he gains a point himself. So now, as it stands, it would be 2 points the difference between Sheldon van der Linde and Lucas Auer. And Mirko Bortolotti would be 20 points behind and 4th in the championship. Renee Rast, Philipp Eng, Mirko Bortolotti, the next one to keep an eye on. Bortolotti's right underneath Philipp Eng. Philipp Eng will be doing his teammate a huge favour if he can keep the Italian behind him. Remember, he's the teammate to Sheldon van der Linde. Wants to keep his own position here, 6th place, but he also will be doing a big favour to the team. And of course, the team want the points for the team's championship as well, which they're looking increasingly likely to win here with the AB Sportsline team, well, minus Ricardo Feller and with Kelvin van der Linde out of the points at the moment. As it stands, they've got 4th place and they've got 6th place in the race. So as it stands, Schubert Motorsport are going to pick up for 4th place 12 points, 8 points, 20 points altogether. And AB Sportsline at the moment not going to pick up any points. That would be 63 points between them, and it would be, with only 48 points still available, the team's championship going the way to Schubert Motorsport. So they're almost there for the team's championship. Look in the mirrors, Marco Whitman. There's another BMW for company with Sheldon van der Linde, and here is Mirko Bortolotti versus Philipp Eng. Breaks himself a little bit, gets on the gas now, tries to out-accelerate the Austrian, but it's not going to happen, I don't think, into turn 7. There's an investigation after the race, we're being told, about Dev Gore's pit stop, whether it was within the boundaries of the rules and the pit stop window or not. So that's going to be looked at, but whether he's going to be able to hang on to the lead or not is now becoming more and more doubtful, because the gap is down to just, hold your breath, 0.8 of a second. Gore first for now, but under investigation for the pit stop. Second is Auer, third is Whitman, fourth on the road is the championship leader Sheldon van der Linde. If it all stays like this, Sheldon will still be the points leader by just 2 points going into tomorrow's race. But I've got a feeling it's not going to stay like this. Auer can see Dev Gore in his sights now. We've got a minute and a half just under to go, plus 1 lap.
2 laps to go.
So there, exactly, 2 laps to go as the top 4 make their way through the Nord Curve. Dev Gore can see them looming large in the mirrors now. Lucas Auer, we know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go for it because he's never interested in second place. He's going to go for the move. He's going to think positively and think, well, 25 points is way better than 18. And if I do get past Dev Gore, if I do win the race, I will be the championship leader. Flashes the lights. Lucas Auer is coming. Dev Gore looks in the mirrors. Surely, here comes the Mercedes. Feigns a move up the inside. On the way to the hairpin, Dev Gore goes out wide, and Lucas Auer is going to get the lead of the race here. Marco Whitman might follow him, but Dev Gore missing the turning point there. So Lucas Auer moves up into first place. 18 points becomes 25 points, and this will put him into the championship lead. Sheldon van der Linde sees that, dives down the inside of Marco Whitman. A brave move, a brilliant move. The South African goes through into third place. So that picks up another 3 points for him. 12 points becomes 15 for him. Changes with each and every move, each and every turn of the wheel. But that was the last of the late breakers. And so by doing that, he's going to get, 15 points for third if it stays like this. 25 for Lucas Auer. 2 points will be the lead for Lucas, but it's not finished yet. Another lap to go at the end of this one, and Dev Gore has got Sheldon van der Linde breathing down his neck. Sheldon is surely going to go for it on the last lap of the race. Down at the hairpin would be the best bet, wouldn't it? And out wide goes Dev Gore, is really struggling with the tyres of the car now. He's gone to the last lap of the race. Here comes Sheldon van der Linde on the way into the first corner of the final lap of this penultimate race of the season. He's not through yet, but the move, you feel, is coming. Dev Gore knows it's coming. He's trying to defend this second place into turn 2, side by side, some contact. Watch for Marco Whitman in the background as well. Sheldon van der Linde goes through. He's gone into second place. 15 points becomes 18. That means he'll hold on just to the championship lead. Marco Whitman is going to get through as well. And Dev Gore, whose pit stop is under investigation at the end of the race, drops off the podium anyway. Lucas Auer first, Sheldon van der Linde second, but Marco Whitman having a big look up the inside of him. There's more contact between him and Gore, but they get out of their hairpin, and it's with Sheldon van der Linde now up into second place. 18 points. He's going to keep the championship lead by 1 point if it stays like this. He's got 18, 7 fewer than Lucas Auer if it stays like this. He had 8 in terms of a lead going into the race. You've still got Mirko Bortolotti trying desperately to find a way past Philipp Eng. That is not happening. So Philipp Eng, well, Sheldon van der Linde is going to buy him a beer at the end of the weekend for that, because he's done a good job to keep the Italian behind for all these laps at the end of the race. But into the stadium for the final time comes Lucas Auer. He is going to win the race. He is going to close to within a single championship point of Sheldon van der Linde. But that last lap move from Sheldon means that the South African will go into the last race of the season as the points leader. What an explosive race it has been here at Hockenheim. And it's Lucas Auer that sees the checkered flag first and wins race 1 of the weekend from Sheldon van der Linde and Marco Whitman.
Very good looking. Very good job. Very good job. Very well done. So drive slowly, save maximum fuel, collect a lot of pickup, and it's you, Sheldon van der Linde, Whitman, Gore, Rast, Eng, Bortolotti, Muller, and
congratulations to Schubert Motorsport, because with a 2nd and a 6th in the race, they've done more than enough now to seal the team's championship provisionally in their first season of racing in the DTM. So huge congratulations then. By my maths, they're 69 points clear of AB Sports line now, and there's only 48 points still available. So they're cheering for 2 reasons. One, because Sheldon has kept himself in the championship lead for the drivers, but they're also celebrating the team's championship. So huge congratulations to Schubert Motorsport, provisionally the 2022 Teams Champions. And well, what a great job that they have done. They've still got work to do, but Torsten Schubert and the team will be absolutely thrilled to bits with that. They're based in Oschersleben, to the east of the country. They've won titles in the GT Masters Championship, and now they are Teams Champions provisionally for 2022. But this man, wow, what a race he delivered. The winner for the second time this season, the biggest win of his career, because it puts him almost up there now in the championship lead, but not quite. 1 point shy of Sheldon van der Linde. Wow, so Lucas Auer wins, Sheldon van der Linde second. All the action at the end of the race, all of the kind of action we didn't want to see at the start of the race with those huge crashes. And again, our thanks to the marshalling team and the medical team and the race control team for looking after drivers as well as they did. So there, confirmation of the results. Well, we had a feeling it was going to be dramatic. I never quite thought it was going to be like that, but wow, the championship very much down to the wire now. As you see, Lucas Auer, Sheldon van der Linde and Marco Whitman as the top three. Dev Gore fourth, Renee Rast fifth, Philip Eng sixth, Mirko Bortolotti seventh, Nico Muller eighth, Lukas Stolz ninth, Maxi Buch coming home with a point in 10th place, Maro Engel 11th, Kelvin van der Linde not quite in the points in 12th, Felipe Fraga 13th, Christian Engelhardt 14th, Maxi Götz and Leon Kohler the only other finishers in 15th and 16th places respectively in that race. So to reiterate, for the Drivers' Championship, 25 points going to Lucas Auer, 18 points to Sheldon van der Linde. And, well, he shows 2 point gap there, but I've got it 148 versus 147 because the fastest lap of the race went to Sheldon van der Linde right at the end of the race. That is why he's got a bonus point. So he took it away from Mirko Bortolotti. And while all the drama was going on, he snuck an extra point in there, so he has got a 2 point championship lead. It's 149 to 147, as you saw from the graphic there, with 128 points to Renee Rast, who came home with 10 points for 5th place. And Mirko Bortolotti, coming home in 7th place, picks up 6 points, is on 121 points. So they're the four that can win it now, but Sheldon van der Linde celebrates that like a race victory. What a drive through everything that was thrown at him, including tyres on the windscreen. He came through from 16th to 2nd. It will feel like a win, but it is a win for this young man. Lucas Auer, top of the car, takes a bow. Superb drive. He had Marco Whitman to deal with the last part of that race as well. So there, confirmation, the Auto Hero fastest lap of the race. The last lap of the race went to Sheldon van der Linde. If he wins this championship by a point, there it was, right at the end of the race. The Auto Hero fastest lap bonus point, and he takes a point away from Mirko Bortolotti as well. So, and of course, that is enough to give him a 2 point lead in the championship. It's been dwindling, but it's still a championship lead. And if you said to Sheldon van der Linde at the start of the year, you're going to the last race of the season as the championship leader, albeit by only 2 points, he would have definitely taken that. And Lucas Auer, if you had said to him, remember the first race of the weekend at the Red Bull Ring a couple of weeks ago, where he finished in the top 5 and then had a penalty for exceeding the pit lane speed limit, dropped him down the order. He looked very, very glum about that, and then they got some evidence in, showed the GPS data, and he got reinstated into his finishing position. And those points might just have been the turning point, because here he is now winning his second race of the season and now within a couple of points of the championship lead. Well done to Marco Whitman as well, his second podium finish of the season. He was definitely up for the race when it wasn't quite to be, but it's good to see the double champion back up there at the sharp end of the field. So we got our podium presentation here, and Marco Whitman delighted with that. He makes his way up onto the third step of the podium, and that is his 42nd career podium in the DTM. Evelyn Badeki is going to present the first of our trophies, and the reality star gets hugged a kiss from Marco Whitman as well. His 42nd DTM trophy in his 161st race. First podium since Imola a few rounds ago in the middle of the season. A delighted Sheldon van der Linde from 16th on the grid to second place. What a move on the last lap of the race as well to get that second place. Great move on Marco Whitman as well, wasn't it? Really, really determined move that was. And Bruno Spengler, former champion from 10 years ago now, back in 2012. He's here racing in the DTM Classic, not for the first time. And the amiable Canadian it is that presents the South African Championship leader with the second place trophy, his 5th podium finish of the year. So 3 wins and 2 second place finishes now. Right, the winning team is now going to be presented. To pick up the trophy for Team Windward is Eric Lingerman, who's the chief mechanic for the team. So Eric Lingerman for Windward Racing proudly takes his place on the side podium as the winning team. And his trophy is going to be presented by skiing legend Benjamin Reich. Oh, loving every moment of that. Well done to Eric and well done to Team Windward. But of course, there's one more trophy to come and a vacant spot on the top step of the podium. And you're going to see some activity in a moment because leaping and bounding up there is the Austrian, second in the championship. Very, very much in the fight now to pick up his 9th win in DTM. Lucas Auer, the victor of the most dramatic of races in the most dramatic of seasons. And Benjamin Reich will now present the winner's trophy to Lucas Auer, who is, as you can quite imagine, all smiles. He lifts the trophy above his head, gives a thumbs up to the crowd, who warmly applaud the winner of round 15 of the championship. And now it's time for the Austrian national anthem. Lucas Auer enjoys and soaks up the sounds of the Austrian national anthem. He picks up his 9th DTM win, his 2nd win of the 2022 season. Perhaps more important than all of that, he picks up 25 championship points. And there they are, the top 2 of the championship, side by side on the top step of the podium. What is it going to come down to tomorrow? Champagne for now. I think a sense of relief that they've got through what was a lot of carnage at the start of that race. It could have gone any way. It could have been disaster, but it wasn't. It was victory, and it was what felt like a victory for Sheldon van der Linde. Marco Whitman probably feels like he's a winner as well with his 2nd podium of the year, his 1st one for a number of months. And again, huge congratulations to Schubert Motorsport, provisionally the 2022 DTM Teams Champions. So a lot to dissect in that race. We'll very shortly be getting some reaction from the drivers. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, how important qualifying is. You want to be at the front of the grid, away from all of the carnage. And that was where Lucas Auer and Marco Whitman were. This man wasn't. He was in amongst it all, but he came through it somehow. He's had some bad luck at times this year, but there was a parting of the waves, and it was great driver skill from Sheldon to get through some of those incidents as well, to pick his way through from 16th up to 2nd place. But Lucas Auer is the one that takes the spoils. 25 points to him, 19 points to Sheldon van der Linde. The gap reduced from 11 points at the start of the day, 8 points at the start of the race, down to just a couple of points with one more race to go in DTM 2022. Let's get some reaction now then with Verena Vries.
And here I am with a very, very happy Sheldon van der Linde, who just said, who would have thought that I'd be standing here? Unreal. And I guess that just sums it up, right? From P16 to P2.
Yeah, honestly, I think today was really the turnaround for us. It started with a nightmare in the morning where we got the penalty of 10 places. I mean, honestly, man, the car was amazing in the second stint after my pit stop. The team did an amazing job in the pit stop as well. So today we really, I said to the guys as well on the radio, first of all, we won the team championship as well, which is amazing. But second of all, I just said to the guys, never give up, because you never know what can happen in this championship. We've seen it so many times this year. And honestly, I was really down this morning before the race. I tried to put a smile on. It wasn't easy. And yeah, now we're back in the fight.
And I mean, quite frankly, Tomorrow is the very last race, and you're leading the championship by 2 points. I mean, it's just really a very, very small advantage, but it's going to make the difference in the end if everything goes right tomorrow. So what is your thought right now? I mean, focusing on tomorrow, it's all about the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tomorrow is the most important day, is where we really need to bring it home. But yeah, I mean, the guys really deserve it. The team championship's been coming a long time as well. It's just as special for me because these guys have come in the first year of DTM and they've literally taken over, which I'm so freaking proud of. I mean, we put in so much work and effort, and we thought we lost it this morning, but yeah, we really fight our way back.
Absolutely, and we're so thrilled and excited about tomorrow.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Sheldon, and here's your commentator.
Thanks, Verena. That just expresses the highs and lows of motorsport. You're down in the dumps 1 minute, everything's against you. And then it turns around, and when it does turn around, it feels majestical. Schubert Motorsport then crowned as the provisional DTM Teams champions. Mercedes-AMG Team Winward second now, moving ahead of Abt Sportsline on 146. Abt were the only team that could have beaten Schubert Motorsport to the title, but failed to score any points in that race. Renee Rast was in the points, but he drives under the Team Abt banner rather than the Abt Sportsline banner. So up to second place in the championship for Team Winward. With that victory for that man, Lucas Auer. What a hard-fought victory it was. You knew he was always going to go for it. Any chance on Dev Gore, and he would have taken it. But in the end, it was made a bit easier by Dev missing the turning point for the hairpin, going out wide, and Lucas Auer just driving through into the lead of the race. Frustrating race for Mirko Bortolotti, who looked like he was going to be challenging for a podium before all the pit stops happen, but a slow pit stop cost him. Super slow-mos there of Felipe Fraga having a wild ride through the gravel trap. There were plenty of wild rides in that race. Let's get some more interviews then down with Verena in the pit lane.
And managed to gain his victory, the second victory in this season. And I was hoping to see a big smile on your face, but I guess it was just so emotional, right?
It was also so tough because first of all, I'm happy that all the crashes, I think everybody is quite okay. But for me, it was just a tough race. Really hard fights with Marco and with Dave at the end, but it worked out, so I'm very happy.
And also, it's all about the championship. Tomorrow is the big final, and there are 2 points. You're behind Sheldon, so it's such a narrow advantage that he has over you. Focusing on tomorrow, I mean, what's going on inside of you at the moment?
First of all, I have to say I'm so happy for everybody who is involved because DTM is my racing home, and I'm so proud. There's so much work behind the scenes, and that we have such a final now. I'm so happy for everybody.
All right, thank you so much, Luki Auer. We're really looking forward to tomorrow's race, that's for sure. And now here's your commentator.
Thanks very much. Great to hear from your race winner, Lucas Auer, after a phenomenal drive, really, all set about by that excellent performance he put together, of course, in qualifying this morning. Well, Drivers' Championship still wide open, and still open, of course, is the Manufacturers' Championship. Mercedes had a 1-point lead going into that race. They've now got that out to an 8-point advantage over Audi. They're the only two that can win the Manufacturers' Championship. Mercedes looking for their 16th title in DTM, Audi for their 9th, but 8 points is still pretty minimal, isn't it? So that's to be kept an eye on with all the Audis and Mercedes in the race tomorrow. Teams Championship decided. Drivers' Championship is blown wide open once again then. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of what's been an explosive race. From me, Chris Hartley, that's it. But down to Verena now to wrap up today's show.
It certainly has been a very dramatic and explosive race today. Absolutely crazy and nerve-wracking, but exciting. And anything is still possible tomorrow. So we're really looking forward to a very exciting race tomorrow. And you certainly do not want to miss it, that's for sure. Tomorrow is the big final in the DTM season 2022. And now here are the highlights, and we'll definitely see you tomorrow for the big final. Bye-bye.
You're still leading the championship by 2 points. Last lap, mega mate.